young people are getting involved at this early stage in the celebration to mark the coming into force of the Paris Climate Agreement. As we all know, if there is anything we can leave for our posterity, it is a clean environment. And therefore, young people, and even all of us, we must participate in making sure that we take climate change issues seriously.
And on behalf, therefore, of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, I want to recognize the fact that all matters to do or pertaining to climate change have very comprehensively holistic impacts: socio, economic, political, medical, and all else that you can think about. And for that reason, it is important not just for the youth, not just for the university students, but for all stakeholders, primary stakeholders, secondary stakeholders, including among them leaders at all levels, to take preemptive action, not just to wait until it is time to firefight.
We know that in as much as we, the population, want to come into towns, other people may not be able to come into those towns. They get into the wildlife zones, amongst others, resulting even into human-wildlife conflicts, and also could exacerbate the instances of emerging infectious diseases like Ebola, amongst others. Thank goodness we do not have them, but in the effect this goes on, you never know what kind of emerging infectious disease may also arise.
Adopt a River is a project that we designed in partnership with NEMA to engage the students right from the universities up to high schools to adopt certain ecosystems of rivers, to monitor the health of these river ecosystems, and to identify the sources of pollutions, and then move further to apply the basic science that they have to restore these ecosystems. Of course, I wouldn't go so much to belabor the point on the role of water ecosystems, aquatic ecosystems, taking examples of the rivers. Now, we are piloting this project within the Nairobi River Basin. A lot has been done along the Nairobi River Basin. You remember the project that was led by UNEP, and I think County Director Mr. Henry Ndede would be able to speak a lot about that. Some of you know of the Michuki Park, and a lot of work that was done, and the river is going back to the worst state it was before. But all these contributions never took into much consideration the role of the academia. So this project is what is actually bringing the academia, education, environmental education, at the center of conservation of river ecosystems.
So when you're talking about the 10% limit in terms of the Paris Agreement, what you want to achieve, you realize that China, for instance, is producing 25% in terms of contribution. Europe as a whole is contributing about 9%, or rather European Union, and the USA is producing 12%. So the rest of the other percentage in terms of the elements that are, warming our Earth is coming from the different continents, like Australia. You look at the combination of India, Japan, Koreas, both South and West, because they're in heavy manufacturing. The South America, especially in terms of the clearing for agriculture. The Middle East, burning of the petroleum or the flaring. We talk about a lot of other sources of this. So when you are dealing with climate change and we want to look at an approach at the national level, we need to think twice, seriously. We'll plant trees as much as we can, we'll manage the wetlands as much as we can, but what is that additional value that you want to contribute as a country or as a university to help mitigate this? And this is where I'm looking at this in terms of entrepreneurship. What kind of enterprises can we go into? What kind of innovation can university students or community go into? Innovation in manufacturing. What can you do in manufacturing to reduce the emissions of these greenhouse gases?
Experts, scientists, stakeholders categorized climate change in 4 areas according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The first one being monitoring, because we can only talk about what we have monitored. The second one being attribution. We have to give reasons. Many a time we see statements when it gets hotter or when there's shortage of rainfall, and speculation about this is climate change comes out. The attribution is important. The next one that was identified is mitigation, coming up with the necessary legal framework or policy documents, lines of agreement for governments being important. And then last and most important for us, especially in developing countries,
specialization has been in identifying the biogenic sources of these gases. These gases are the ones which warm the earth. In moderate quantities, they keep the earth temperature where it is, and it is habitable. In excess quantities, they create climate change. Having said that, the Institute for Climate Change was established in 2011 by the Senate and has been in existence since then. We have master's and PhD students, altogether 215. We have 115 PhD students and 103 master students. And I want to interest the female, that we have very high proportion of female students here, 44 PhD students and 43 master students.
Waste is a key generator of methane, a minute in terms of quantity in gas, but with a very high warming potential in the atmosphere, that if it increases, is leading us to this tipping point that Professor Mudhama was speaking about.
The change is going to start in this room. The change is going to start with you. If you are a student in one of our halls of residence, how are you consuming the electricity in that room? How are you using the water in that particular facility? And Nixon, I would want you to, in fact, get through the house of residence. Nobody has ever done an energy audit. Nobody has ever done a water audit. And yet, we, the University of Nairobi, whether you're in Kabete or main campus, are sitting on a water hotspot. Since we are not getting adequate water from Nairobi Water Company, all of us have turned into groundwater. Okay? We are sitting on a water hotspot. So how are we using our water, our energy, in our offices, in our clinics, in our hospitals, in our house of residence? Start from there.
That does not mean that those who are, for instance, undertaking civil engineering cannot have a course on climate change, dealing with how they can make infrastructure that is climate-proof. Or those who are in medical school cannot have a course in climate change that can be dealing with impact of climate change on health.
Trump will play, the world will not go back, because we have to move forward with change. We cannot go back. The amount of people and the suffering climate is doing is greater than what Trump can do. Even they themselves are suffering from climate change. So we will soon have to realize how to handle the impact of climate change in the US. So I'm not worried about climate change under Trump. Trump
his politics, he's playing his politics. He will be there for 5 years, and after 4 years, and after 4 years, maybe another 4 years, but the world will have moved, and we have to be positive about that. It is the best the humankind has achieved so far, and so far to go back to where we were would be negating the history of life. And even the technologies that are being developed are now geared towards ensuring that we move away from oil.